Hey, welcome to What's Your Point Overtime, where we really get into the nitty gritty.
Can I listen to Ty? Can I listen
You
to
can
Ty?
loosen up to Ty. Get
Go
going.
Astros.
Okay.
Texans are playing today.
How about take my jacket
Yeah.
Whoa, all right. This is going to get the ratings going.
Hey,
Bill King stripping on air.
No, let's
Bill,
let's
your
have
mic's-
a
your
let's
mic's
keep
on your
boundaries
jacket,
here,
Bill.
Okay, we don't need any more.
Bill, your mic's on your jacket.
That's okay. Leave it there. Okay, you're good. You're good.
Let's go back to 800 Middle Street. What should happen here? I mean, they're what looks like they're about halfway through the first stage of this apartment complex.
Well, what I was going to say in the segment, and I give Christina Morales praise for speaking out about it, but I mean, people look to their state reps and their elected officials to do things. So, I mean, putting on a record's great, but I mean, she needs to be calling for city council to intervene, calling for a legislative committee of Harris County delegation to look into this. Like, somebody needs to be doing something, because council, I haven't heard council bring it up other than when you went to ask them. And so if there is a state rep who's actually interested, I would assume push to do something rather than just put it on record, because that's not going to help these families once they get there. And it doesn't cost much anything at all to get a delegation of Harris County state reps to do a committee on this.
Okay, I know Holly's taken a deep dive in this, but to build this thing, they used HUD money to buy the land. Right. And then they issued bonds to big names, or using two big name companies, Deutsche Bank and Berkshire Hathaway.
Right.
So were those two companies, once they got involved in this, did they know about the environmental risk? Is there going to be an inquiry from that end? If as Holly said, if the rules are can't build affordable housing X amount of feet from an environmental risk, and you check that off, no, and that's what these companies are betting on. Right. Have they been sold a bill of goods, so to speak?
I think that clearly there needs to be some investigation, and the first thing that needs to happen is construction needs to halt until we get to the bottom of this matter, right? We need to investigate what's on those bond applications. In addition to the $80 million in bonds that they sought, they also borrowed $9.5 million from the city of Houston to start the infrastructure construction. And when they were digging one of these trenches is when they discovered this large cache of ash last December. When they discovered this ash, they did not halt construction, and they did not notify TCEQ within 24 hours, which is mandatory. This is supposed to happen. The only reason it got stopped temporarily was because a resident saw what was happening and filed a lawsuit at his own expense to halt the construction. And it was only then that they went in, and started removing some of this ash. The TCEQ investigation that has come after the fact found that they probably did not properly remove the contaminated materials from the site. And so the city, or the Houston Housing Authority, and NRP Group, which is building here, they've both been cited for several violations of procedure. But there's also questions about TCEQ. What have they been doing to enforce the rules? Have they been keeping up with reports? There's also a company nearby, Lead Products Company, that operates an active lead melting facility. There's clearly, some lead ash being spewed into the air. There haven't been reports submitted to TCEQ since 2018 on that property, and it's just right there, right next to where they're building these housing units, right? So, there's concerns all over the place. What role did TCEQ have? What role did HUD have? What role did the Houston Housing Authority have? It looks like some perhaps senior advisors to Mayor Turner had knowledge of this sale. There's the company that, Waterman Steel Group, one of their agents got a $650,000 commission on the sale of this land. There's a lot of different players here, and I think there needs to be a full investigation into the entire process.
Little background: Waterman Steel, Alicia Ellis, Commissioner Ellis's wife, Lance Gilliam, former housing director, profited. Bill, there's another component to this. How does the Buffalo Bayou Partnership end up with a chunk of highly contaminated land?
Yeah, it's a little bit obscure exactly what happened. I talked to a board member this week who said he had no idea that they even owned this piece of property.
Alarm bells.
Yeah. This report that I just got my hands on yesterday indicates that the actual piece of property the Buffalo Bayou Partnership owns probably doesn't have that much ash on it, and they clearly turn around and point the finger at the city of Houston for illegally putting ash on their property or their previous owner's property. And it turns out the big ravine that you and I walked down, that where the ash is washing Buffalo Bayou, that is still owned by the city of Houston and not by the Buffalo Bayou Partnership. So I don't know. It's a very curious reason. And the other thing is, typically the Buffalo Bayou Partnership doesn't own those tracts. They only own easements across them, and they already had an easement across this property. So why they got involved in this is very, very curious. I don't think we really know exactly what went on there yet. But here's the thing that I think is what's interesting to me about this is, if you look at if you're Berkshire Hathaway or Deutsche Bank looking at this, you've got all the check marks all the way through. You've got environmental reports that say this is all okay. Now, if you read those in any detail, what they say is the piece of property you're building on, that square right there, doesn't have any ash underneath it. But if you go over here across a street or across a fence, there's all this ash, and all that's documented in those reports. Now you've got to get back to the back and read it and see that. Now, let me just say, there's no way, from an engineering standpoint, we will ever remove all this ash. It's too expensive, it's too dangerous. But there are ways to contain it, which is to put a clay cap over it and bulkhead Buffalo Bay. There's ways to contain it. Now, at least on this piece of property that the Cockrells had that ended up in Houston Housing, at least there were some attempts made over there to do something, okay? You can argue about how effective those were. But let me tell you, on the City of Houston site, nothing has ever been done. There's not even a pretense of that going on over there. Sorry, I don't know how to turn.
You have a very active phone this morning.
I got a new phone, and just.
Well, look. You know, here's the deal that really kind of gets my antenna, journalism. The president of the Buffalo Bayou Partnership forms her own private LLC, takes possession of the land for several months, and then somehow the land ends up with this nonprofit, which she controls or is the president of. Is that weird?
It's weird, and that piece of land was part of the initial sale to Houston Housing Authority that HUD halted because of that piece of land, because it was known to be contaminated and unremediated. And so after that, they reworked the deal and still sold it to the Houston Housing Authority, peeling off what's track 3, but they didn't reduce the price.
Interesting.
It's very strange arrangements there.
Okay. All right.
But you said, is it weird, or is it just another day
in
the petrochemical empire
City of
Houston, where so, for example, I mean, we're talking about major international companies. Well, guess what? Charles, you're talking about who's going to be the activist on this. I tell you what, Monday, the trucks are back. So there's billions of dollars that say, we got the paperwork that said this is coming. I just want to say one thing, though. Logically speaking, this ain't going to stop. People are making money, and people are being paid to do this. Now, on the activist side, I got to commend you and Fox 26 for showing those pictures, because seeing is believing. When you see those pictures and imagine mounds of toxic waste, that's very different than all these corporate reports. And I think that's going to have to be what captures the hearts of some folks to say, enough is enough for this case.
What I want to know, are they going to disclose to the residents all these issues?
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about Fifth Ward. We ran sound from the mayor saying we got to get these people out of here until other children won't be sick. Well, and then they've given the big check of approval to moving low-income families adjacent to, clear and present danger of toxicity. I mean, that's got to bother you, Chau.
Well, I counsel a number
the hypocrisy.
I counsel a number of low-income families who live in situations that are far from ideal. And the bottom line is when you're taking public housing, you don't have a lot of options. You don't have a voice. No matter if they come to their landlords or the managers and say, this is what's going on, they don't have the voice. And that's what really bothers me when we look at these big projects and you've got big corporate entities and big, all these really smart people. Well, what about those residents? When they are suffering, who listens to them? And that's very frustrating.
I'm going to switch gears real quick because Charles Blain has piloted an issue we're going to see on the ballot.
Oh.
And so if they can get 2 or 3 council members together to say, wait a second, I've got big concerns here. Let's put this on the agenda. Talk about what the choice that voters have now.
Well, they can choose to vote for the status quo and say no, or they can vote yes on Prop A, which would give any 3 city council members the ability to place an item that they deem appropriate on the weekly agenda, which is something that's largely reserved for the mayor now and that they don't have to do. And so, I mean, personally, I think that it's a good idea, and I think that it should help us encourage better representation as we move forward, because these council members often say that they can't do anything and that they blame it on the mayor, and for a long time they've gotten away with that, and I don't think that that's something that if they have this ability they will be able to continue to get away with. I mean, I hope not, but people do typically let elected officials get away with a lot. So but I hope that this really actually starts to empower council and help us elect better council members who are willing to go there and actually act on the things that they run on. So
yeah, over the last several years, Bill has used several pejoratives: disgrace, cowardly, and describing the quaking
worthless
nature of our city council, because they would not challenge the mayor even when they wanted to, for fear that he would stomp on their initiatives at the district level.
Well, I think it's a great example. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Did I mischaracterize you?
I think you left out worthless. but it's a structural problem. You can't expect people not to react to the incentives of the system that they operate in. There is a structural problem. The mayor of Houston is too strong vis-a-vis council. When I ran for mayor, I proposed a 5-point plan to better balance the power between the mayor and the council. Charles's referendum was one of the things I proposed to do that. There's some other things we need to do as well. The mayor of Houston is just too strong. I'm not talking about this particular mayor. The office of mayor is too strong institutionally compared to city council. And we need to fix that. This was one step towards fixing it.
Okay, I'm going to go to the mayor's race real quick. When I co-moderated that debate last week, I kind of expected folks to come out and take a few swings at the definitive front runners, Sheila Jackson Lee and John Whitmire. It really didn't happen. Do you expect that to happen in the what do we have, 6 weeks left, 5 weeks left? Charles.
I mean, I think they're all probably going to take shots at Whitmire because they see him as kind of the leader in the race. I think a lot of them might be a little afraid to take shots at Sheila Jackson Lee because of just general backlash of what they might get from some people who might look at it as you're attacking this black woman, the only black woman on the stage. I mean, she's taking shots. I've been seeing her ads. She's been running some ads, and didn't she take a shot at that debate too?
Yes,
or am I
she
mistaken?
did.
Well, you were
Yes,
gone.
she
She ran an ad, and we talked about it last week. Linking John Whitmire as an ace for the NRA and putting guns on the street, which was demonstrably untrue. Demonstrably. And I said so.
There's another one on the abortion issue, I think, that I saw.
And I've seen him on the floor of the Texas Senate, fighting the abortion ban and other things. And not just recently, for decades. So, I mean, this is kind of the same playbook they ran against Alex Mueller. The difference is he's a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat and always has been. I mean,
anytime a local candidate starts talking about abortion, you know that they're in trouble. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Hey, Tony,
go ahead.
I
was going to say, Representative Lee did take some shots at Whitmire during the debate that you moderated. I noticed that, she didn't call him by name, but said, he sat on the chair, or sat as the chair of the Senate Committee on Criminal Justice for all these years, and that wasn't a solution to Houston's crime problem. Interestingly enough, Representative Lee did admit that Houston does have a crime problem, and that people are concerned about crime in this community. But she did see the need to go after.
You mean the
Whitmire.
fifth greatest city in the world has a crime problem? I'm sorry.
Well, her base thinks there's a crime problem.
Right.
Yeah,
It-
yeah. Tony, what are you hearing out there on the streets? And is there excitement? And do you think that the, fairly healthy number of Latino candidates will kick up Latino participation? Because, it's sleepy, bro.
Well, I tell you what, every candidate is somehow appealing to Latinos, right? And you were mentioning Congresista Sheila Jackson Lee. I tell you what, she's a fantastic stump speaker. If you've seen her in public, she can connect with an audience, and anyone who's running against her needs to understand that, and they probably do, because she's got that name recognition. On the flip side, I think the biggest difference is going to be not just the two Latino candidates we were talking about earlier, City Council Representative Robert Gallegos and Gilbert Garcia, but right now, out of 16 City Council reps, there's one Latino candidate, one Latino representative, Robert Gallegos. If that changes, there's about a dozen running right now. And I'm excited to see which are going to win. Some are at large, which before was in an attainable seat. There's actually a lawsuit pending from LULAC, right? So it's like if someone wins and they're Latino and they win at large, does that kill the lawsuit? I'd love to see a Latino win at large ever since Gracie Sines won.
Look, to be fair, Latinos have been winning at large in Houston for a long time. Leonel Castillo was our city controller.
And Gracie
back
Sines.
in the 70s.
Well, I will.
Orlando Sanchez
Before
was at
you
large.
testify against that lawsuit, I will refute you. I will refute you at that lawsuit, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to be neutral on that. But what I'm saying is, though, with actual city council candidates running viable campaigns, I think that's going to be changing. But back to your earlier point, all the candidates are saying something to try to get the Latinos. So it's this weird moment where Latinos are active, but it's hard to compress us, because here's the last thing I'll say. Every Houston City Council district is Latino. If you look at the census reports, even City Council G, where there's a race, that's 20% Latino. That means in the lowest representation of Latinos, 1 in 5 residents is Latinos. And that's, I think, what complicates things.
Look,
one more thing to add real quick.
go ahead.
So a Republican
Which is a
said
whole
this to me the other day. It
different
made so
ballgame.
much sense, and the more I think about it, he said that people are not willing to accept how much Sheila Jackson Lee is like Donald Trump, and what he meant was that she says things that, in the same way that Trump would say, that are provably untrue, or maybe okay, give you an example. When she said that she wrote a letter to the Fed about the interest rates, no one checked that. Like, no one said, like, hey, this did not, and then she said it again at the debate. And nobody said, and then you gave the candidates an opportunity to say, like, do you want to address something your opponent said? And no one said, like, hey, like, that did not do anything. And so there are a lot of times she goes out there and says, I did this or I did this, that she may have been a part of, but she takes full credit for, in the same way that Donald Trump does, and does not get checked for those things.
Can I just say something about
Chau.
SJL? I think she's been a great stateswoman for us representing Texas in DC. I really, I've worked with her for decades. You've worked with her. She's a vocal advocate. She's there when you need her. And on the front lines, I've seen her in action, and it's very impressive. I would personally like to keep her up there, because I don't know who's going to follow behind, and we need a lot of help in Congress.
That's exactly what Lee Kaplan said as she was trumpeting her accomplishments up there, and he said, and that's exactly why you should stay where you are.
I don't think she'll like me to
She
say
is
that.
certainly ubiquitous. I was so amused to see a press conference last year, I can't remember which one it was, where she couldn't be there in person, but she called in on the phone, and they held the phone up to the microphone. So
Well, working
can
in
be
the
a part of
domestic
this.
violence, sexual
It's
assault
amazing.
space, and being a feminist and working towards women's issues, abortion rights, she has been there. She's always there, and
But-
I
but
really
let me
like
just
her in
say something
DC.
about this.
I like her in DC.
So the polling, look, I've known her. Mickey Leland introduced me to her in, I think, 1986 when she was running for a state district judge. I've known her forever, have a cordial relationship with her. But she is an extremely polarizing figure in this community. In the U of H poll, I've never seen a number even close to this before. I think that was me dropping some of it. Okay.
We're phone challenged,
I've never
so.
seen a number like this before. They ask, would you never vote for this person? 44% of Houstonians said they would never vote for Sheila Jackson Lee. By the way, I heard through the grapevine that she ran a poll that asked the same question. It was 48%. I've never seen numbers anywhere vaguely that high before. I don't even think, I'm not sure Donald Trump would be that high in the city of Houston if you ran that poll. But that indicates to me that she has a very loyal core support, but it's very difficult for her to expand outside that core support.
Yeah, breaking news here, Mark Jones and the Hobby School are in the field right now on the mayor's race, so we're going to have numbers prior to going to the ballot box. That's good news for Holly and I.
I know. It's an easy story to write, right? Well, yeah, and to your point on that poll, when it looks neck and neck when you have the full field, but if you get to a runoff with Whitmire and Sheila Jackson Lee, Whitmire just runs away with it.
And I think the business community here would be afraid to see an SJL.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the other race that's drawing attention, and Tony mentioned it briefly, is the District G race. I mean, it was, below the radar until Tony Busby got in. And so, that's an interesting race. You have an incumbent, Marianne Huffman. There's tend to be a somewhat right-leaning district within the city of Houston. Marianne Huffman, of course, is a known Republican, previously ran for district attorney. Busby declares himself a political independent, was the former chair of the Galveston County Democratic Party, but he
the largest
has
donor to the Harris County Democratic Party.
Right, and to Trump also, but he's a very interesting figure, but he is this newfound celebrity because he defended Paxton, and so it'd be interesting to see the dynamic that plays out in that race.
And there's a Democrat in that race too who's been running, who just put out a mailer like MAGA Marianne, and so it's.
I think it'd be interesting just because you have name recognition on the ballots. Will those voters in District G say check the box?
Right. Well, do they know who their city council member is prior to this?
Those
do they just recognize Busby's
people
name?
in G are pretty well informed.
Speaking of city council races, former on-air people also. We have Casey Curry running for at large, and she's got name recognition just because she was a meteorologist. KTRK, that will be interesting if she can use that.
Not if it rains.
If she can use that, and Casey's a lovely person and super smart and super competent, but that's another one of those. Like if the viewers or if viewers or KTRK viewers go, oh, it's Casey, it's the former meteorologist. Well, I just vote for her on that ground.
Yeah. Okay, here, hold on. I got to get this out because we got about 3 minutes here.
Oh, okay.
My favorite number of the month is 15. You know what 15 is? That's for $15, which is what it costs every time someone steps onto a Metro bus, courtesy of Bill King. Talk about that real quick. I mean, I'm not anti-transit. I just want transit to work
and be fiscally sound.
So, look, I think the fundamental problem we have is we don't know what we want our transit system to do. I did this survey. By the way, I had over 800 people answer the survey, which I was happy to see. And I asked them, why do we have transit? And the first answer was, the most popular answer was to reduce traffic congestion. And I'm going to be writing this, but let me just tell you what. Transit does nothing, nothing to reduce traffic congestion. Absolutely nothing, and I'm going to lay out and prove the numbers to you on that. Primarily it's because it carries 1/2 of 1% of all the trips in the region. The second issue was to give people who can't afford to operate a car a way to get around town and get to work. That was the second most popular answer, just slightly below traffic congestion. Look, what transit really is not a transportation program. It is a social welfare program. And we need to accept that's why we do it. And if that's why we do it, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that, I think we should be doing it. But if we're going to do that, would you go about doing it this way? Would you be spending $1.5 billion to build a BRT down Richmond, for example? Or would you say maybe what we ought to do is just pay for Uber rides for all these people? They would surely have tremendously better service than they have now. They have door-to-door service. We're in a process, I think, of completely rethinking what transit really means in this country, which is being driven by the demographics. I mentioned earlier when we were at commercial break, there's all this idea that Houston is densifying. The population inside the city, inside Loop 610 in the city today is less than it was in 1960. This idea that somehow Houston is densifying is not true.
But Bill, there's the complication, like Chau was saying. You have the people that have the least resources who need this don't have a seat at the table, the people at the table are doing it. Didn't we do some of that for the Super Bowl? Like some of that was just to get more industry in, not to really help the folks you're saying. So I hear what you're saying. You're saying that if it is for the social economic challenge, make it that. Don't put the bus in the middle of the.
Well, what I would say.
My best guess is that part of the long-term goal here is that Vision Zero program, right, where they really want to get people out of their cars and try to continuously push people to using mass transit, even if they don't want it.
And that is never going to happen. Metro today is carrying 40% fewer riders than it was in 1998.
It's not over. Don't let it in. I haven't shouted out city council candidates.
We got 20 seconds. It's been a great conversation.
Astros tonight for the division championship. Yeah.
And I'm taking the kids to the Texans to see J.J. Watt.
Nice. And Canelo won.
And they played great last week, too, by the way.
And the guy I met at Food Town, Lalo. I just want to say hi. All right, that's it for Overtime. Thanks for joining us.
Astros.
Hope to see you next week.
Go Stros.
Go Stros.
Okay.